Um, and I want to thank you for your continued support of all the organizations that are sponsoring this. Especially want to say a shout out to Simber Care and to Lee and to Bliss with Hearts for Home Care and all the others for your leadership and co-partnership. The association is very grateful, and we look forward to a very successful day next week. And I'm not going to take the thunder away from Bliss or Lee about how large the group's going to be, but we do have some good news to share. Thank you, Lee.
Well, thank you, Tim. Good morning. My name is Lee Dobson, and I am the Deputy Executive Director for Hearts for Home Care. We're a social welfare organization uh, looking to improve access to quality care at home. Thank you for joining us today and for joining us on May 13th. This is a joint advocacy effort partnership with the Association for Home and Hospice Care, and you just heard from Tim, and also Semper Care, as well as more than 65 other agencies across the state that have come together as a unified voice for home and community-based services. Home care and hospice is a vast industry of providers from across the state. And together, we're taking care of thousands of seniors, individuals living with disabilities, children with complex conditions. And together, our advocacy is stronger. Special thanks to Tim, William, Brooke, for our partnership in this advocacy planning. It's like working together is always a great thing. Brooke, do you want to say a few words before we turn it over to Bliss?
Yeah, thank you so much, Lee, and thank you also the organizers, Bliss, Lee, Tim, William, Judy, Sue, guys. The amount of work that they put into this to make this successful. So thank you guys so much. I'm Brooke Barragona. I'm the Director of Business Development at Simber Care, and I wait for this day all year long, and just I'm so excited to get out there and on Wednesday and to be with each of you. I'm just humbled and honored by even being amongst this group of amazing people. I know you guys are all carrying so much right now and showing, yet you still show up. And that is just so critical. I look forward to the day that we're not comparing our services to a warehouse worker or someone in fast food. What you do is essential, it's skill, it's deeply human work. And I think every legislator will be able um, to really to feel that from you as you share your stories and not just the challenges, but the impact that you have. I just want to encourage everybody to have that voice because your voice matters so much. And again, I'm so honored to be a part of it. So I can't wait. Glad we're kicking it off. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much. And just want to say that we have beat our record from last year. Last year we had 175 individuals registered from 60 plus agencies. This year we have 185 individuals registered from 65 plus agencies. And it's really covering the entire state. And we're going to be breaking up into 36 different teams. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Bliss, who will talk a little bit about what to expect in the day and how your teams will be organized. And then William Glenn will be talking about the issues and be able to take and answer your questions. Bliss?
All right, everybody. Hello and welcome. I'm super excited. This is one of my favorite calls of the entire year. So let's go ahead and kick it off. We want to go ahead and bring up the slides we have for you guys just to get a visual of everything we're talking about today. Maybe I can't see them. There we
There we
go. Awesome. I hope everybody can see that. If not, please let me know. Just welcome. Thank you, Lee, Tim, Brooke, for that wonderful starting off today, getting us in the right headspace. So we can go ahead and skip ahead. We talked about how many we have registered, a great record setting year. I'm very excited. It's going to be a full General Assembly, so be ready for that. A lot of unified voices. We've talked, we can move on, keep going. All right, so today, just kind of give you an idea of what we're going to be talking about. We're going to go over the details and logistics for this event. We're going to provide you with a little overview of the issues and the ask for this year, so you're fully prepared. You aren't just grabbing the one pager on the day of and walking in that legislator's office not knowing what's going on. We want you to feel like you have all the tools in the toolkit for the 13th. We're also going to talk about the resources you're going to have not only before in virtual form, but in paper on the day of, so you feel best prepared. And then just describing what it's like to meet with the legislator for those that haven't experienced that before, and giving you thoughts and ideas of how to run that meeting. And then there'll be opportunities for you guys to ask questions. So we can jump right in. So let's start with a little bit of logistics for the day. Most of you, if you've been here before, you know some of this, but it's always great for a refresh. So registration will begin at 8:30 a.m. I do say if you are going to park, if you see this map here, the parking's a little ways away from the museum, so I would try your best to get there maybe 8:15, a little early, just to get settled and not feel so rushed, because we are going to be starting promptly at 9 o'clock a.m. So if you're ready to be there and hear these great guest speakers we have, I would say get there a little bit early. So then once you park, you can either park behind the legislative office building in that visitors parking over there, or I would recommend the closest parking is across from the History Museum and across from the State Archives. It's an open air lot. Most of you in years past, I've seen you park there, so you guys are experts, but that's just my personal recommendation. And then this year, we're actually meeting at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences in their WRAL Theater. I'm very excited about this year. It's a wonderful space, and it's very convenient because for those that have been to the state legislature, it is right across from the very front doors. So when you're walking up, you're going to see the big seal on the ground, the flags, the front of the building you see on the news or in photos. Right across the street from that on Jones Street is the entrance to where you're going to go to get to the theater. And of course, you're always welcome to contact myself or anyone else on our team if you're having trouble finding that location. It's going to be a very great spot and hopefully a lot more convenient for you guys. And we talked about parking a little bit, but those are the addresses there. You will receive all of this information with the addresses and the agenda, so don't worry about trying to take a picture of it right now. We're going to get this to you, and we can keep going. Alright, so this is just a little photo of the agenda and where we're meeting at. So if you see that kind of alcove, semicircle building right there, that's where the door is that you're going to be going in. So just to give you guys a visual of where you're going to be walking in to get to that theater. And as you see with our agenda, 8:30 to 9 is registration, meeting with your team to get in your seats, packet pickup, all that fun stuff, and getting your name tags. And then 9 to 9:40, we have kickoff presentations and guest speakers. We have 2 wonderful legislators coming to speak with us this year, so please get excited for that. I'm very excited. And we'll also do a little run through of the materials at that time as well. From 9:40 to 10, that is an opportunity for you to connect with your teams. This year, we're going to have specific seats for your team that you guys can all meet up from the beginning or make your way there at 9:40 and sit down and review those materials together. Get to know each other. These people may be people you've never been on a team before if you've come together, or if this is your first time. It's a great opportunity to get prepared for the day. And then from 10 o'clock to 10:15, we're going to take our group picture. We're not going to be going outside this year. We're going to actually stay in the auditorium and take a group picture in there. I promise you it's going to look great. I'm very excited. So that should be a lot easier for you guys and less moving around. And then after we get done with our picture, we're going to send you off to the legislature where you're going to start making your appointments. No appointments are going to start before 10:30. So you should have plenty of time to get over there and find where you want to start. And you may start in the legislative building. For those that don't know, there's 2 buildings. The first building is the legislative building, which is the very old one. The original is across the street, but this one is what I consider the old one. But it's a wonderful place. It's very confusing. There's different blocks, but as you'll see, the legislative building office numbers have 4 numbers in them. So when you're looking for these places, definitely if you see 4 numbers as their office number, you're going to be in that square building that's the older one. And then if you have 3 numbers, that is the legislative office building that is across the bridge and over to the side. Those buildings are labeled on your map that you're going to get virtually and in person. So please look at those and feel free to ask anybody questions. If you're going through security and not sure where you are, they are happy to help explain it to you and tell you where you need to go. So please don't feel worried about asking questions. And then lastly, 11:30 to 1:30 in that time frame, want to grab some lunch, you don't even have to leave the area. There's a lunchroom not only in the legislative building in the basement floor, but also in the legislative office building, and they have wonderful food. I worked there for a while and I ate there every day. I loved it. So please take part in lunch, connect with your team in between meetings. We can keep on going. All right, so now I'm going to pass it over to William Glenn, who's going to give you an overview, kind of a state of the state, and get you prepared for Advocacy Day.
Thanks, Bliss. Yeah, William Glenn, Vice President of Government Relations for the association. Like Bliss said, I'm going to give you a little bit of the state of the state, explain what our asks are, and hopefully leave time for any questions you may have. So with that, next slide, please. So we are currently in the 3rd week of the legislative short session. It started 3 weeks ago. This marks the 2nd year of the 2-year biennium, what's called the short session. So the short session typically means they come in and try to readjust the budget from the long session. The problem with that is that they did not pass a budget during the long session, so they are still negotiating a state budget. Republicans hold majorities in both the House and the Senate. 30 Republicans in the Senate and 71 in the House. Those numbers are significant in that it represents a near supermajority in which the legislature can override any veto from the governor. I mentioned the budget. They are currently trying to hammer out some differences related to a new children's hospital the Senate wants to fund down in Apex, as well as some scheduled tax cuts that are scheduled to take place next year, as well as what to pay our teachers and state employees. There was a consensus revenue forecast last year that saw the state potentially going into a recession and not taking in enough revenue, especially with inflation the way it is. So the House has been scared about those scheduled tax cuts, and they're really trying to hammer out those points at the moment. Next slide. So this kind of represents what our legislative priorities are, what we'll be asking you to talk to legislatures down at the building next week, specifically related around Medicaid rates and private duty nursing, personal care services, what we need to be successful and to serve all North Carolinians. We're in a workforce shortage, and so any help we can get from the legislature related to rates, the Medicaid rebates, and so forth is certainly something that we desperately need. Next slide. And this is basically what we'll be asking you to hand out to legislators. It covers everything that I just talked about on that previous slide. You'll have time to review this in depth with your team before we send you out to the building. So don't worry about having to look at this right now, but it'll be smart to kind of dictate on your team who's going to talk about what, just so that you're all prepared. Next slide. And lastly, we're going to be talking about certificate of need as well, and we'll have a one-pager specifically dedicated for that. Just about an hour ago, Senate Healthcare noticed a bill on Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock related to certificate of need and getting rid of it for certain ambulatory surgical centers. We are currently not named in that bill, but that can always change. And we need to certainly stress that what we do when someone goes into your home, they need to be licensed and regulated by the state. So just want to put that on your radar as well. Next slide. Happy to answer any questions anybody has about that. We've got a couple more slides after this to cover, but if anybody has any questions, happy to answer those.
I don't see any in the chat, so let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. And I'd like to introduce my colleague, Mike Sokolowski, who will be providing some information on what a meeting should look like. Mike?
Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. My accent will be way different than North Carolina. I am Mike Sokolowski, and I'm going to go over a little bit about what a meeting should look like when we all meet in Raleigh next week. And what I will go over is, a picture of what it should look like. The most important part of this whole entire face-to-face that you're going to have with the legislator or their staffer should be that personal story. Facts and data are going to be there. You're going to be able to go over that, but it's the personal story that I want you to start reflecting on today and carry with you to next week. And then I will go through, lastly, the entire process of that legislative meeting that you are going to have at least one of, if not 4 or 5, depending on your schedules. And I'll turn it back over to my colleague Bliss on the talking points. So at the beginning of it, if you can go to the next slide, what a successful visit will look like. So you want to appeal to the lawmaker's head. All right, so we'll go into greater depth on the meeting itself. But what that means is you want to not only provide statistics of what is a challenge in the state of North Carolina, but also it's the yin and yang. You want to give a positive with the negative. So these are the challenges we're experiencing. This would be a benefit to your constituent. Lawmakers are going to get the door knocked on all day with, oh my God, this is terrible, this is terrible, this is terrible. Give them an opportunity to be the hero or the champion. Give them some benefits that this would provide to constituents in their district. Appealing to heart. On the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about the personal story. That's what I'm trying to reiterate is the most impactful part of these face-to-face interactions you're going to have in Raleigh on Wednesday. It's going to be your personal story. I ask each of you that are watching this live or the recording, it's that personal story that you're going to think about from now until next week that is going to tug at the heartstrings of the legislator when they have to sit down and make a tough decision. They're going to have so many groups of people coming through. It's in their brain worm of that personal story that you told about home care that's going to make that last minute decision towards home care or not. So make that your impactful on top of mind thing that you take with you to that meeting and leave with the legislator. And then lastly, we'll go again a little bit more into this, but ask them if they are able to be that champion or be that assistance or support. You're going to have to finish every meeting the same way, and I'll give you a little tip or trick on how to do that in a couple slides from now. But if we can go to the next one. So what I've been harping on, I guess, is that advocacy story. So when you're telling that story, my lens, everybody's lens is a little different. I used to see people in operations a lot more. I would be in the homes. I would see what's going on in the offices. So take this from your perspective, wherever you are in home care. Think about what are the greatest pain points that you could think of. What really is something that field staff and or clients are really, really struggling with, and put together a cohesive story on how that could resonate with these lawmakers that you're going to meet with and how they relate to the asks that we have. You heard a little bit, William talked about some of the asks that we have. As soon as I'm done, Bliss is going to go into the talking points on the bills that you're associating these with. But it's not going to be difficult to tie your personal story to what our asks are. But make no mistake, all of the words you see here on the screen have to resonate. Don't make it up. So if you're going to be telling your advocacy story, make sure all of these words ring true. It is your story, or you're relaying a client story or an aide story or a nurse's story. You're bringing their story to the Capitol that day. That also works. But don't make a fictitious story. They'll know that. They can see the genuineness in your face. Next slide. All right, so now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty. I'm going to take the left half and then turn it over to my colleague Bliss for the right half. So the actual meeting itself. So meetings in general are different. This is in the Capitol. So we're going to be together as a team. We've talked about that already. What you're going to do is you're going to meet up with morning of or hear from your team prior via email. So there's 3 of you. I'm looking at my screen right now. So I see Heather, Shannon, Katie. So Heather, Shannon, Katie are a team, and they're going to get together before that starts. You're each going to pick a spot. Someone's going to do the opening, the introductions, brief, your name, who you're with, why you're here today. Then split it up where, okay, next Shannon's going to talk about why we're here today. Give them the data and the facts and the folders. When I say that, so here's where the difference between the stories and the data change. With the data and the facts, you're going to have folders for the legislator and one for yourselves. Do not worry about looking down at the fact and data sheet and reading it right off of the piece of paper. That is fine. We do not expect you to memorize that. I'm not going to memorize that. It's not possible to memorize all these facts and data sheets, but we want you to get it right. So open the folder, ask them politely to open the folder and walk through it with you, go over the facts and data, and then next, Katie's up. So that's where we're going to move from the background of what the bills are asking for, transition over to the next person on the team to share your story and connect that to what our ask on the fact and data sheets are. At this point, there could be more than 3 people. Again, divvy that up the best way possible. Maybe 2 of you are sharing a story. Maybe Heather, who did the opening, is going to jump in and tell a story as well. But it looks really great if even a couple minutes before you walk in that room, you divide and conquer how you're going to take that meeting on. It looks very professional. And if the story comes out personal, honest, and true, this goes a long way. All right, now I'm going to pause. So this is the fun part. So everything else I believe is easy. This is the part where you have to have your way to go about the ask. You can't have these meetings without getting feedback, and then you're going to reach back out to those via email or in person how they went. The last thing you have to do is ask that legislator before you leave, are you going to support our ask today? My easiest way to go about that is smile, put my tongue behind my teeth, and just wait for them to flinch. Don't say anything, don't smirk, don't do anything until they say yes or no. It might be uncomfortable, but you'll get over it, trust me. You want to make sure that they say yes or no. If they say yes, kudos. If they say no, that's fine. If they say no, you just politely ask, hey, can I find out why? Could I get more information? Whatever that may be. That creates 2 things. You have the ability to find out the answers to their questions and have a follow-up meeting with them and try to get them to that yes. Before I go to the last part, the most important thing, again, I'm going to pick on Katie Sweeney again, but I keep looking, you're right in my glance. So Katie's heard me say this 1,000 times. So for all of you that are going to take part in these meetings, when the legislator at the end does have a question for you and you don't know the answer, don't be a hero. Say, I don't know. I will get back to you, though, with that answer. The worst thing you could possibly do on that day is guess or make something up and it be wrong. All the trust and credibility that you're trying to build by having these meetings to support what we're asking these legislators to do will go away immediately if you give a fake answer versus the right answer. So yes or no are the only things that you could give. If you know it, say it. If not, we'll get back to you. After we go through all that, the questions and answers, the pitches, the stories, if they support what we're going to do. So the wrap up, we definitely want to promote them. So on our end, before you leave, be sure to ask to get a photo. If they do have a legislative assistant that's available, or someone on your team, if they want to volunteer to stretch out the arm and do the selfie. And when you do that, get their contact info to share the picture with them, because they like to promote these things on their own sites that they're meeting with their constituents. makes them look good. And then you're going to share that picture as well. You'll see on the bottom of the sheet right here that I'm looking at, there's a place to share the photos. Hashtag is there appropriately. And thank you. Thank them for their time. Follow up with an email after. Be gracious about it, because remember, it's those niceties, the personal stories that they'll remember. They're going to hear from 10 to 15 other people probably that day. And I'll stop there. Anybody have any questions regarding the interactions or the process of meeting with the legislator? All right. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to my colleague Bliss.
All right, everybody. So now we're going to look over here at this second page. So what you're looking at is going to all come together. So what Mike just talked about with the legislative meeting guide, that is what is going to be on the front of this. And then if you turn that page around, you're going to see your talking points. So this is going to help support you guys in doing everything Mike just told you to do. It's going to give you kind of a rundown on what you can say, what you can highlight, along with the fact sheet being there to support you as well. So we could talk about this whole sheet, but I really want to highlight these 3 bullets: protecting access and consistency in funding, stability in programs and services, and investment in the workforce. Those 3 things are the 3 things that I think if you hit them in your meeting, that was a success. You really told them the full highlight. And if you see in purple, it's kind of times that you can add in some of the things that Mike spoke about. So when you're talking about protecting access and consistency in funding, share a story on the impact to access to funding in your life, what you've experienced, either as a caregiver or someone receiving services. Share that story when you're talking about that. When you're talking about stability, share about a staffing turnover issue or missed shifts that has impacted you in some way, or if you've seen that impact others. It's a great time to share that type of story. And when you're looking at investments, share how low wages and low Medicaid rates impact recruitment and retention. If you're somebody that works in that space, as I'm sure most of you are, you can share a story about that. I'm sure you've got one. So really take the time. All of this is going to be available to you today. You'll be able to see it on your computer, on your phone. You'll be able to access it. Take some time to look over it and think about what your story is, what you'd like to share during those specific talking points. And also, with that, a little bit backtracking to the introduction and background on the first page, something that I love to do when meeting with a legislator is to learn little bit about them before you go and meet with them, and maybe find something that's off the topic of what you're asking for during the meeting that you can start the discussion off with to keep it light. So maybe you both went to the same college, or maybe you live in the same town as the legislature, and maybe you want to bring up a favorite restaurant. That's a great way to start things off light and get the positive talk started, and then you can move into your asks. So with that, we want to give you guys the opportunity to know your legislators as best as possible. So if I'm going to get John to kind of divert over off this PowerPoint to show you a legislative bio, you're going to receive these not only in virtual form, but in paper form on the day of, just for the legislators that you're going to be meeting. It's a great opportunity to look at where they went to school, where's their hometown, what education did they have, all the different schools they went to, military service. There's so many different things that go into this. You'll also get, as John just pulled up, thank you, a map of their district, so you know the areas that they're covering. So maybe you live in one part, but you provide services all across their district. That's a great thing to talk about. And it gives a little background into their bio and just all the nitty-gritty details that you could bring up to start great conversation. So I'm very excited for you guys to have this year, and I really recommend looking over it. And we can go back to the PowerPoint. So you may be asking, hey, I don't have any of this stuff yet. When am I going to get it? You're going to get it today, and it's going to be in a Google Drive folder. So you're going to receive connection to your teams. Those that are on here that are team leaders, you've already been notified that you're a team leader this year, and thank you so much. We're going to connect you with your teams today so you guys can chat, email back and forth, introduce yourself, and look over these materials as you prepare for the day. And we can go to the next slide. So do we have any questions? I know I saw one about what to wear. My biggest thing is, business casual. If you want to wear your scrubs, you're welcome to do so, but please wear comfortable shoes. Everybody makes that mistake. It's a rite of passage, but I don't want any of you to have to deal with that. I'll take the heat on this one. So please, if you can, wear comfortable shoes. But if there
And
are any other
yeah, and
questions,
we also ask people if you want, you can wear your company colors.
Mhm.
Um, so coordinate with other people from your organization and see what you all want to wear. So but comfortable shoes is number one. And don't carry a lot of extra stuff. There is security in both buildings, and you will have to go through metal detectors. So don't bring your computer, don't bring other things.
Plus, can I add one thing? And Leo's just about to say that same thing, so I'm glad you did. Don't forget the legislative aides in this process. They are managing a lot of different schedules, and sometimes their meeting doesn't have your meeting scheduled. We've got to move it later in the day, and having that connection with a legislative aide is really important too.
absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up, Brooke, because I forgot to mention that earlier. When you get your schedules, you're going to receive the times for your meetings on the morning of Advocacy Day. So you're going to know who your legislators are, but you're not going to know your times until that morning. And if you get that and it says drop off, that means that either that legislator did not contact us to schedule a meeting or that they aren't available. But that still is an opportunity for you to go and drop off the information. Don't skip that office. That is just as valuable of a meeting, even if the legislator isn't there, because there's always a chance you're going to catch them either in the hallway or coming in and out of the office, or their aide's going to take that materials and put it on their desk for them to see on the next day. And they do look at it, I promise you. I used to be an aide. I can tell you they still look at it. So definitely treat those meetings just as important as you treat the ones that you have specific times for. Any other questions? I'm not seeing any. We must have done a good job. All right. Anyone on the team? Anything else to add? Closing remarks?
Just rare and ready.
No.
Yeah. So thank you, Bliss and team for all of that great background information and how a legislative meeting operates. If you've never been, it's really a great opportunity to connect with your constituent legislator. We do our very best to make sure you get to see your elected official, but that's not always possible. But we do try our very best. And the teams that Bliss has put together, as I said, there's about 35 teams. They're cross-agency teams, and this is an important fact that it's impressive for lawmakers to hear that in care delivery, right? Everyone is a competitor. We're all trying to take care of the footprint that you have. But in advocacy, we are united and we are stronger together. So a lot of times lawmakers see that as a positive that we can come together in a unified way to ask for what we need. We've been asking for increases for the last number of years. The last time there was an increase for aid services was in 2020 when we had a temporary rate. It was made permanent in 2023. And then the last time PDN received an increase was in 2023. So you can remind them about that. So you're asking for what you need, but we also need asking for what you need is to invest in the workforce, to ensure that the rates keep with pace with reality so that you can hire and you can train your qualified nurses, your aides, your direct support professionals. But we also need to be very cognizant of the environment that we're in. As William said, the state still does not have a budget. We're the first state in the union without a budget, and we're going into year two. We do need to thank the lawmakers for doing a mini budget and giving the department Medicaid funding to cover us through the end of the year, the state fiscal year. But we still need the legislature to pass a budget to fund Medicaid. And I think our message is we ask for what we need because we're trying to take care of the thousands of individuals that rely on us every single day and the workforce that makes this possible. But we also need to protect what we have. And the protecting what we have is ensuring that Medicaid is fully funded to ensure that the services and programs that we currently have available remain available. And the way to do that is just to talk about the value of care in the home. I know we've talked a lot about facts and figures, but it's really the stories that stick and the stories of what happens when we're short-staffed. That impacts real people. What happens when we're fully staffed? That impacts real people. So it's all about the people and just focus on the stories of why care in the home is important.
Lee,
And then, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say the one thing you said about splitting us up to meet with direct constituent legislators. The one thing that all of you, like myself, Terry Henning, Sarah Mills, that'll be coming in from non-North Carolina, just let them know that you're the voice of clients that couldn't be there or field staff that couldn't be there in your district. Because that's one question in all these advocacy days we get: who are my constituents? And if you're not, that's the best way to let them know that you're here representing your constituents that couldn't be there that day.
And most importantly, as we close, just have fun. You're here, to support your workforce, the patients, the families that you deliver care to every day. Just know that you are the expert about home health care and hospice, and you're just sharing your passion about why you do what you do every day. So thank you very much. Any parting words from anyone? Any questions, last minute questions? All right, well, I think that's a wrap. We're going to give you 20 minutes back in your day and take that time to think about the stories that you want to share next week.
All right. See you in a
Thank
row.
you.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Bye.